In today's video, I'm going to tell you 5 things that you need to avoid in your resume, and that's coming right up. G'day, Erhan here from Zique Solutions, a channel dedicated to helping you prosper in your personal and professional life. So there's a saying that I like to go by, and that is if you're good at writing a resume, then you're probably not good at holding a job. But whether you can keep a job or not, the idea is to write the best resume you can. So let's get into it. Now, I'm not going to try and tell you that there's one perfect way to write a resume, because frankly there's not. It's a very subjective topic and there's a million ways to approach it. Having said that, there are certainly things that you definitely need to avoid, and they are as follows. Number 1, ditch short-term positions. People often think that regardless of how long you've been at a job, you'd always put down the job because experience is experience, right? Well, yeah, you're right. Experience is always better than no experience at all. But there is a byproduct which is negative in putting down short-term experience. While your 2-month employment at ABC Constructions as a permanent employee can be seen as good experience, the problem with this is whoever's reading your resume might see this as a red flag. Why only 2 months? And while there can be dozens of valid reasons why you've only been there for 2 months, the employer will always err towards the side of negativity. In most cases, you'd pick the lesser of two evils, and that's ditch your short-term work experience for the sake of keeping a cleaner resume. 2. Extensive narrative. It's only natural for us to want to talk about ourselves all day long. So when it comes to your resume, scrap the extensive narrative and keep things as short and concise as possible. And I want you to consider this. If a recruiter spent 5 minutes on each application, and let's say that there are 100 applications on the recruiter's desk, that'll take a whole day for them to just read every single document. Never mind responding to emails or doing their other tasks that they're required to do. So the bottom line is the recruiter going to be that inclined to read through an entire document, let alone the rest of the documents that they need to go through? Or are they going to want something nice and short and sharp? So as cliche as it might sound, less is more. And in fact, I want you to consider this, right? Let's suppose the recruiter does read through your whole resume. Then what next? I mean, they're going to call you for an interview. You're going to have nothing to talk about because you've already showed them everything. So try to use dot points instead, because at the end of the day, not only will dot points serve as a tick and flick sheet for the employer to ask you more questions, but asking questions and getting into discussion is going to enable you to develop more rapport. And building rapport is always a good thing when it comes to an interview. 3. Bad grammar and punctuation. Okay, so this one's an obvious one, and really I don't want to insult your intelligence by going over it, but at the same time you'll be absolutely shocked how many people mess up this part. And the particular concern here isn't necessarily the grammar or punctuation, it's actually the attention to detail. So when people make judgment about your resume, which unfortunately people do, then they're going to see it as a matter of, okay, so your attention to detail's lacking. Is it going to lack in your job as well? And I can tell you right now that you as a typical person are probably good at your job. So just because you make these mistakes doesn't mean you'll make the same mistake on the job. Personally, I never judge on this stuff because at the end of the day, a person's proficiency in the English language isn't necessarily going to dictate how good they are at the job. But at the end of the day, there are people that will make this judgment upon you, and you know, they're going to put you in the maybe pile, and we all know what the maybe pile means. 4. Hobbies and interests. While it's nice to show that you've got a life, you partake in extracurricular activities or whatever the case might be, people always want to just see the goods. Recruiters read a ton of resumes on a daily basis and they just want that sweet juice, your credentials. Save your hobbies and interests as a talking point in an interview, you know, where you can develop rapport. 5. Personal information. Anything such as marital status, date of birth, what you ate for breakfast this morning, that great photo that you took yesterday, can all be left out of your resume. Basically, the idea is if something can be used as discrimination, leave it out of your resume. I had a client who asked, if I had a good looking photo, won't that help me get the job? Well, let's suppose you do get the job because of your photo. Now, we've got another problem here. If it's your looks that got you the job, then they're the type of employer that you probably should really reconsider working for. Do you really want to work for someone who has made judgment on your photo and who possibly might not have hired you if your looks weren't to their taste? Of course not. So I recommend you leave your amazing photos to Instagram and let your credentials speak for themselves. I hope these tips have helped you, and if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the section below. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button too for weekly videos. Other than that, keep doing well, and I'll see you next time.